Hello, everyone, and welcome to this newest episode of That NextGen Planners podcast. As always, you are here with me, Amelia Hamilton, your head of community at NextGen Planners, and Clara Metcalf.
Hi.
She's a financial planner. And Taylor Beavis.
Hello.
He's also a financial planner. What a coincidence. How lucky we all are. Who would have thunk it? But we're not alone. We are joined by a fabulous guest today to come talk to us, and that is Nicola Crosbie, who is a chartered financial planner and founder of Moran Wealth Management. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's absolutely our pleasure. And to start things off, as we always do now, is the previous guest, or these aren't going out in order, so a guest at some time, maybe in the future. So maybe we won't know who set you this question, but they've set you a question, and it's an interesting one. I think we all had different answers for it.
We did
at the time. But the question is, if you could take a red, I don't know why it's specifically red, but a red danger pill, which would then tell you everything that happens in the next 5 years of your life and where you would be, would you take that pill?
Oh, it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? No, I don't think I would, actually.
No.
I think I'm quite spontaneous, and I think knowing what would happen in the next 5 years would probably hinder me rather than help me.
Yeah. Me and Taylor were both the same, but
Oh no, I need to know.
Clara and our guest both had different answers. You were in there.
I
How
wanna
boring though when you know and you're just like, oh, well, what do I do now? I know what's happening now.
I guess it's not like, can you take your foot off the gas? Like, it's
Would you?
take my foot off the gas.
You
then.
could just relax a little bit and be like, oh, it's gonna be okay.
I like to know. I know this is like the thing I'm always told I need to work on, but I like to know every eventuality. If I could have a crystal ball, I absolutely would have one. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
But is it not a destiny thing, whereas you'd make different decisions and your outcomes change?
Yeah, well, we did refer to Final Destination.
Yeah.
How, if you try to change your future, it will end up back there.
I was thinking more sliding doors. That.
That also
Yes.
came up, didn't it, when we were talking? Yeah.
I talked about Doctor Who, but yes, because it's then a fixed point in time. Do you watch Doctor Who?
I don't just now, but I have.
Yes,
but
but
Doctor Who
when it's
yesterday.
a fixed point in time, then it can't be changed. So it was with the Matt Smith River Song era that when it was the final episode of God, I am going to finish this sentence, but I know how geeky it sounds. It's the final episodes with Amy and Rory, and they're reading from a book, and once they read it, it becomes a fixed point in time, and they can't change it. And so I think that's the same. And then for me, that would
You've
be the
lost
same.
me.
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to Nicola. Let's not talk about.
We have an
another
existential
episode of Doctor Who.
crisis.
So let's get into things then. So you're a chartered financial planner. You've founded your own firm. What does that look like? How did you get into it? What's been your journey into financial services and where you are now?
It's probably quite a kind of backward forward route into financial services, to be honest. So there was never a plan in place, and sometimes I think there's only recently been a plan of where I want to take it. I went to art school and studied architecture, and my dad was in finance, so I did some admin for him and various other financial planners, and I was quite adamant I would never do that job because it was, did I say, Abbey life and quite Wolf of Wall Street type atmosphere. And not for me, no women, just couldn't think of anything worse. But I decided by about year 3 of architecture, I didn't really think it was for me. But I thought I'll persevere, get a job, get my degree and see. And I still just thought it was quite boring. So I had a bit of a crisis of confidence at 20, and I decided I was going to go travelling. And then, unfortunately, by 2020, when I was 21, I ended up unexpectedly pregnant. So the travelling had to get put to the side, and I had to think about what I was actually going to do. So I had loads of skills in financial admin. I knew I didn't want to be an architect, and I couldn't really think what else I wanted to do. So I thought, well, I'll do, I'm that old, it's FPC 1, 2 and 3. Did that, and then really struggled to actually get anyone to sort of give me a start. So the best I could do eventually was sort of admin, bit of paraplanning, a bit of practice management, and then I got a start as mortgage and protection. which was just a bit boring because I wanted to do everything. So I thought if I go and get all my qualifications, somebody will eventually take me seriously. But it was a bit of a scramble to get there, to be fair.
Yeah.
Do you still do everything in terms of the mortgage protection and the whole lot, or you tend to focus now on something you like more to do?
I still do everything, but I don't really enjoy the mortgage part of it. So I have always kept my mortgage license. I think it is an insecurity of mine that it's always something to fall back on. I do less now, and actually my own mortgage I got someone else to do this time for the first time. So it's more if a really good client doesn't want to deal with one of my kind of contacts, then I'll take it on. But I'm kind of out of the way of it. But protection I still think is really, really important, and I think it's a great part. But the whole bit I like is doing everything for everyone. And sort of taking them by the hand.
What did you find then? So just like kind of rewinding. So when you were trying to make that break, what did you find was the hardest thing? Was it getting clients? So are you talking about it was hard to get clients or hard to get a company to take you into the advisory role?
Hard to get a company to take me into the advisor role. So my dad was a mortgage and protection advisor. And where he then moved to be affiliated with St James's Place, like I still am today. And to be fair, they've got a wonderful setup for it now. But at that point, it wasn't really the done thing. I think my age was going against me. I think the fact I was a single parent was going against me. And I think also the fact that I was a female. So I think there was these three things that they thought nobody would ever take me seriously. I got told, oh, you're obviously very bright and technical, but will you be able to speak to people? Will you be able to cut it?
It's absolutely mind-blowing to hear those kind of things now as well, thankfully, because obviously, you know, Clara, you're a financial planner today and a woman. I'm a
I've
woman
heard it fairly recently though.
By a company saying
my first job in the industry, I literally had somebody tell me that as a female of my age, I was 25 at the time, I should be grateful to have this opportunity. And I kind of thought, you know what, because they were talking about you like children, stuff like that. I was thinking, it's lovely of you to plan my life for me. I mean, I'm 32 now, still don't have kids. But somebody at 25 said that to me.
That is complete. I guess maybe I'm naive then, and perhaps the people that I'm talking to, it feels like we've moved on. And I think we probably have moved on, but clearly not enough. Clearly not to the point that it should be.
I think we have moved on massively, but I still think there is such a minority that are females, but there's such a minority of complete diversity in the financial planner population that we need to address. So I don't think it's going fast enough.
Yes, a beautiful segue that you couldn't have set up better for me. Thank you so much. You recently won awards in this sector. So it was the Diversity and Inclusion, Equality and Diversity and Inclusion Award. Champion.
We like it. We should have had party poppers.
Has that always been something that's been integral to your attitudes in business? Is that something that recently you've been able to focus more on? When did that come into the equation for you?
I think it's always been there, but I think I spent the first part of my career massively suffering from imposter syndrome and just trying to get taken seriously. So hopefully we've paved the path a bit for people like yourself, Clara.
Fingers crossed.
So I think I underestimated my own abilities, and I didn't really know how much of an impact I was actually having on people's lives. I went in 2016 and strangely 18 months after I had twins, I decided I wanted to do a master's, which was absolutely crazy timing.
Oh my God.
But I just felt that I was at the point where I needed something different. I'd done chartered, I'd done fellow, I'd built a business, but it wasn't quite enough. I wanted to make a bit more of a difference. So the Masters was really, really good in looking at things like marketing and values and what you were as a person, understanding what you wanted to be and what a difference you could make. So at that point, I started to think about things entirely differently. And I thought, this is actually bigger than just me. If I'm feeling like this and I'm that qualified, what are other people feeling like? So it became a sort of, I did my dissertation on where are all the female financial advisors? And quickly came to lots of different conclusions about that people actually don't understand what you do. They don't understand the people element, the relationship element. And how can we make a difference? Because there isn't enough role models there. So you have to be quite sort of visual, I think. And you have to be willing to put yourself at the front of things. And that with that comes accolades and awards, but also comes criticism and exposure and LinkedIn trolling, all the usual
we
things
love
that you
it,
get.
yeah.
So that I struggle with that side. I really struggle with it.
And have you had that from within the profession? People,
Yeah, I think there's a certain person on LinkedIn that probably has lots of views to say about a lot of people, but I feel sometimes your peers think you're doing this because you just want to get the awards all the time. But to me, applying for awards is about showing that females have a place in finance.
Yeah.
We can do good. It is a good profession. We do really good things for people. We change lives. And if we don't put ourselves out there, how's anyone ever going to know that?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we were looking at an article, I think yesterday, that was saying that 1 in 5 men view paraplanning as a stepping stone to becoming an advisor, whereas 1 in 10 women do. And the comment was there's a lack of female role models in the advice roles for female paraplanners to kind of see. So they view it as maybe not for them because they haven't got, it's not being seen that women are doing great things and that they can, that job's also for me.
And there's a problem with sort of mentoring, because if females generally have less time, they may have other obligations and things like myself, but they then don't give their time to other people. So it's difficult. So it's a catch-22. So I give a lot of time to people. The other thing that spiralled the equality and diversity inclusion is my oldest child, the child from the 22 age, is transitioning from male to female. So I quickly started to look into that, and I thought, they don't have any sort of role models for advice. It's such a unique set of problems, as is the whole queer community. There's different issues, and I attract a lot of clients that are a little bit different because they maybe see something in me that's a little bit different. So I think for that, it felt like an award I really wanted to win, and I generally win awards second time round. So I think they just give me it for the resilience of applying.
No,
So
not at all.
But I think the fact that I won't give up on something that I really want, and I wanted that because I wanted to see a female win it. A female won it, a very good female won it last year, who I became good friends with, and it just felt the right award for me that I wanted to keep trying to get it.
yeah, absolutely.
And so just rewinding, so you said your eldest child has transitioned or is transitioning?
In the process, on the kind
so
of
she works
plan.
for the business at the moment?
She works part-time. She's just finished university, so she's at that point where she needs to decide what she wants to do.
So she's like mum, she's doing a lot. She's doing studying and then helping out.
Yeah, she's had a lot of problems with her mental health, so it's kind of baby steps just now to get her on a path of something. Even getting the degree and getting a 2-1 has been massive. So we have made progress, but she's still on that path, which is challenging for her.
Oh, go on, sorry, you go.
No, I feel like you were halfway through a sentence. I'm very bad for interrupting.
That's fine. I was just going to kind of pivot a little bit towards your team. So
Oh no, okay. Then come back to me, because I wanted to stay on that topic.
you
for
do
a
that.
little
No,
bit.
you do that first.
Yeah.
Then.
Do you think you've then become that role model then? Because now you have a daughter who's going, okay, cool. That's what my mum does. That's what this industry is. That I can now make steps towards being that. Have you had a lot of people?
I don't think she will go into it
Right.
as such. She's very introverted and behind the scenes. She's more into things like audio production, very analytically brained. I think it's probably her idea of hell what I do every day. But do I think I became a role model? Yeah, without sounding egotistical, I have. I get a lot of contact from people asking for my advice, to the point where Emma, my lovely business strategist, says you need to stop giving your time away. Yeah. But it's hard for me because I think that support is essential. And if I can help somebody with a few words of guidance, a couple of mentoring sessions, then it really makes a difference to them. I would have loved that at my early stages.
And I think also when you look at where the wealth is moving towards, it is women as well. There's all the statistics out there from, I can't remember what year it's going to be, that more women hold wealth than men. I think it's
imminent. The tip into it. Now the wealth transfer. And
the way you look at gender identity as well, and that's becoming finally, not as much as it should be, more acceptable to not identify it as either a binary male, female. So you have other people who might be looking for an advisor who is not going to be judgmental, and it's not somebody who they might feel worried to come to or not comfortable with. So awards like that hopefully are also big indicators that if you're not a man who falls into this category, I am here to help you, and I am interested in what your experience is and how I can best serve that.
It's an excellent point, because we've always banded about the idea, is it just females we want to work for? And coming from a family of, I've got 2 brothers, I've got really important male cousins, I don't want to be exclusive to anyone. I've never wanted to get a job or win an award over a man. I've just wanted to be treated equally. So to me, that you kind of hit the nail on the head. There is a lot of males out there that don't identify with the conventional male advisor. They want somebody that they can be open, honest, vulnerable, talk to you. So I do have a very even. Again, there's females that will really identify with a female who's at a similar life stage, going through similar challenges to them. But I think to me, it goes back to, it's about the person, and do you connect with that person? Because there's plenty of advisors or planners out there that you might connect with better. You need to have a certain chemistry and a connection to make it work, that you trust each other and you can be open and honest, and they can be vulnerable, and you can help them and add the best value to them.
I'll let you come to your question now.
Well, no, it's just on that same point. I guess being the chartered financial planner is one thing, but I would say that's really valuable, and of course that allows you to do your job. But what's so valuable is your background and your experience and your life experience, and that. So, like you say about being relatable, you must have clients that have also been there and done that and had children and tried to study in a career that they didn't like at the beginning and change. So you must really be able to support them on their
I think I'm quite open and honest with clients. I'm very much, this is not about me, this is about you, and I'm here to listen and help. But I think you've got to reveal a bit of your own vulnerability and your own challenges for people to understand that they can be open with you. But it's definitely a journey with your clients, and I think when you win awards and you do things that you're recognised for, they're really pleased for you, because they see how hard you work to be visual and to stand out and be a bit different.
And just to kind of focus on the awards briefly, you say you seem to win them second time round. Looking at kind of the practicalities of that, what kind of stuff do you think you do differently that second time around when you're actually applying? What do you think makes the difference between, periphery and choose the winner?
I'm quite methodical which is strange, because everyone will say I'm a bit spontaneous. I do everything last minute, which I do the awards entries last minute, but I am thinking in my head, and I'm maybe brainstorming, and I'm trying to say, well, what did I do differently this year to last year? I look at the competition. I'm quite honest. I look who's up against me. They didn't reveal the shortlist for this one. That was thrown me quite substantially, because I'm looking at them thinking, well, what are they doing? And I think we can learn from one another and say, well, they've done that really, really well. Is there something that I can adapt? But I think it's about continuous growth and looking at what you can do that bit extra to change or to tweak or to take on board feedback if you get some. I always ask for feedback. You don't always get it, but quite often you do. So it's interesting to know. And quite often they say to you, it was so close, this person just did this a bit differently. And you go, that's a really good idea. And I try and connect with the people and chat to them, and because I think if you're in that final shortlist, then you're really quite good. And
you kind of won anyway.
At that point that you win. But you're also meeting like-minded people. And I think that's really good for your own personal development, to be able to talk freely with other people and be collaborative rather than competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it echoes quite a lot of what, so we had Sarah Elson in a previous podcast specifically talking about awards and whether they matter and how to go about applying for them. And I think really looking at the people around you as things to learn from, rather than, they're doing this, I've got to do more, I've got to do different, and realizing that as a community you can really lift each other up. And if we're all striving to be a bit better, then eventually you look around and everybody's made a huge step forward, which is what we want.
Better outcomes as society if we all work together. And it's, people have said that there are so many people in this country who could benefit from financial advice. So you're not really in competition. You're not taking somebody away from somebody if you're helping them, because you're actually making it better for everybody. There are too many people for everybody to look after. So why not help someone and get a better get a better societal outcome by helping others?
For sure. And I think that's a lovely place to take a little break. So we'll leave people on that thought and we'll be back with you in just a second. Hello, everyone. I hope you are enjoying this current episode of That NextGen Planners podcast. In this short break, I just wanted to take the opportunity to remind you of a few things that we've got going on at NextGen Planners. Firstly, we have our brilliant Elements 2025 conference tickets now available. They sell out pretty fast, so you can go online, you can find out loads more information about our fantastic annual conference that happens every year. It's always so much fun. So we'd love to have you there, so make sure you secure your place now. And also, I'd like to mention business membership, which is a really exciting new section of our community that we've got for businesses who want to take their business to the next level. So do make sure you check out that on the website, along with loads of other things about our brilliant community.
Hello, welcome back. So before the break, we were talking to Nicola Crosbie and we were talking about all of your awards and what you've been up to and how you've been running your business. And I wanted to kind of start this second half looking at the business a bit more in terms of I know from our conversations on off the podcast that your business has been through quite a change, and you've had the introduction of Emma into your business as your business strategist. Could you talk around that and tell us what that has, what is that process you've been on and how has it helped and what does that look like?
Yeah, so to sort of carry on from the Masters, I got that in 2019, and it really was a lot of the learning was about how to run a business, which I definitely thought that was what I was lacking in. I knew where I wanted to be, but it was how you got there. So COVID came, it was quite a challenging time. I've got twins as well, so homeschooling, all that. So a lot of things just became firefighting. And then as we came out of COVID, it just seemed to be really, really hard. We were doing the same level of business, a good level of business, but everything just seemed more of a struggle. So I kept saying it would be so good if you had somebody else who was more like, hopefully with time, a business partner, who has different skill set to you. But it's quite important that they have the same values and models and they want to grow and things. So my practice manager had said she was looking to retire. And I thought, well, I could go and hire somebody exactly the same who was very efficient, but I felt I needed somebody more strategic. So conversations we're having, I was speaking to a few different people, and Emma was someone I had met previously, and there was some things going on in the practice she was in. And it just seemed to be a bit of a serendipity moment. I was planning on doing it sort of round about now, the hiring. But I just thought it was too good of an opportunity. We had that connection. So she's like a whirlwind of energy, and but we're actually incredibly similar in lots of ways, which I didn't think we expected to be. But she has the same work hard, but she's very about working smarter. So she's trying to take all the processes in the business, use as much technology, make everything process driven, everything efficient, everything accountable to the client as well. So there is that element of logging what we're doing all the time, so that we know that if we're ever questioned about how much charges we're making, that we can account for that, and really bring in team members who've got the same sort of attributes as us, even if they're a lower member of staff, like in more of an admin role, so that they feel part of a team and they feel in that kind of growth cycle and development, and to really sort of build development plans for everyone that we hire in the future so that they do have a career in financial services. So she's excellent.
She's amazing, right? And she almost, from what I could kind of grasp talking to you both, was it's like she runs it like it's her business, but completely respects it's your business.
Yes, I think she did say Nicola will do anything I tell her to. Yeah, we agree to disagree sometimes, but we've got a healthy relationship. I will do anything she tells me to if it's a sensible solution, and I know that she's thought it out. And to be fair, I think there's only one thing we disagreed on once, and I said I don't think that's a good idea. So that's testament to the fact that the time she puts into working things out, her brain, the way it works, is very much more process driven than mine. I'm the ideas person. They're quite off the wall sometimes. It's good to have somebody to rein you back in and say that that's probably not possible, or that's actually she'll look at me skeptically for quite a couple of weeks, and then she'll come back and say, well, actually, you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
So it's that, I feel like it's like an equal partnership, and I would like to make sure that she's rewarded for that in the business as we build.
Is this something that you would recommend to a lot of other people to seek out, or in a perhaps even informal way, right, if they don't have capacity?
Definitely. The kind of realisation that I was needing somebody like this came from actually an external consultant that St James's Place allowed me to have access to. Damien is worth a shout out on that one. And it was just like everything that I thought was happening in the business, lack of efficiencies in a certain way, but because you're so busy seeing your clients and the client outcome, you sometimes lose track of that. You're not about enough. So it felt like I was kind of getting torn in all directions. And the things that I was thinking needed to change with technology and all these things, he pointed that out. So he sort of acted as the catalyst to think, well, what was the next stage? So yes, I would recommend it to anyone. It's whether you'd want to lower your profits for that purpose. But to me, I think we can build something bigger together. Where if she shares in that profit, because that would be my plan going forward, to have her in the business profiting from it, that we could have just as much for each other, because I'm not a greedy person. I would rather have a really solid, sound, ethical, responsible business that is doing the right thing for our clients, but causing us less stress as well.
And then in the long term, you know, where you'll be, it's so much more than where you might have been if you just kind of gone, well, I'm going to keep the exact way I've been doing it and it's fine. And
I'm also interested in building another part to the business which helps other businesses benefit from some of our experience and things, because I think together we've got quite a unique skill set. You know, I've got the kind of client facing, how to teach people the bits that you say about being advisor that you don't get from the technical case studies, because all that for me has gave me is confidence and the ability to identify needs much easier. But again, that just appealed to that imposter syndrome part where I felt if I had the qualifications, I was an equal. In hindsight, I don't think you actually need that, but I think it's a good thing to do for your client because you'll always be doing the right thing. But the softness and the experience comes from just life, I think, and seeing people. Whereas she will say to you, she's not a people's person. She doesn't want to be in front of people. Well, that's ideal for me because the bit that she loves doing is the bit that I kind of can do if I have to. But it's probably not where I would want to prioritise my own time. So it's proven to be a really lovely partnership and we've built a really good friendship as well.
So I guess in a business, and it's if you're looking to grow and you're looking to keep up with the times, it's about knowing where your skills are, where your boundaries are, and knowing where actually having a complementary personality comes into that business to help you grow is coming from. And like you said, not being greedy, because a lot of people have this attitude of anything I do is going to come out of my pocket because it's my profit. So if you want to protect yourself in that longer term, you have to foster that growth mindset and bring in a collaborative partner who actually sort of supercharges the parts of you that maybe you need some help with.
Absolutely agree.
It's kind of similar, Claire, isn't it, to another podcast we were doing, kind of filming yesterday, about outsourcing elements of the process, power planning as an example. Did you find it difficult to relinquish control on some of the elements in your bit? Not that you're out of control, but to say, actually, you go away and make some decisions as to what this business should do.
No, and it's strange because I think potentially my person that retired had this misconception that I was this control freak. I like to be in control of my own destiny. I think you are all that you put into yourself. But there's parts of it that I just want somebody to take on and run with. And if they think that's the sensible solution and it works for me, it's not causing me massive amounts more work, it's actually taking work off me, then I'm happy to go with it. It's, to me, what Emma does is she understands the process and the points of it and she can make that happen. Whereas I could kind of go, I would go from there to there because I know what happens in the middle. So it means that we can now build the team back up. We have been using some outsourcing, so that probably is just a temporary solution. But I think there is still that it's good to have for certain things.
Yeah.
But it's also working out what is good to outsource and what is good to keep in-house, and
Yeah.
what kind of staff members we need to build our team.
It seems like the key when you're taking somebody on like that, from what you're saying, is that yes, they need to be competent and able to do what you're asking them to do, but the most important thing is that your values are similar in terms of what you believe, so therefore you can relinquish the control, knowing that they're probably going to come up with something that you're happy with.
I would also add to that as a lack of ego. And I think that that's something that you can see clearly in some businesses, that it's, I'm going to do this, and because this is the right thing, and what I've decided, and that's it. And that's when that kind of mindset will inevitably, they'll fall behind. They're not going to change. They're not going to adapt. And if you can bring forward yourself in a way that is, measured and determined, but not with, I am this person and I must, control this, and I've got all the answers and I know what's right, then you suddenly open yourself up to be able to hear many different voices and create a business clearly which is doing very, very well and will continue to change and grow and adapt. And even talking about, I'm so glad that you brought up tech alongside looking at like diversity and inclusion and things like that, because I think oftentimes there's a kind of misconception that, this quote unquote, I don't think we meant to use the word soft skills, I can't remember what it's called anymore, but it's like making it so that it doesn't seem like a lesser than. But that kind of side of things is like, oh, sure, it's like good, but like it's not really helping my like business and numbers. But you've got that, and then you've got another side of, well, we're looking at tech. What can we do? How can we make it more efficient? It's looking at everything holistically to be the best you can be.
It's being critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being critical of every element.
Yeah, I think last year I felt incredibly burnt out. I felt it was a lot of personal things. There still is a lot of personal things going on. And I just thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's not how I wanted to feel, because I absolutely love my job. But the parts of the job that I take over, and when you're having to lead that, make all the decisions, it just felt an awful lot.
Yeah.
So I had to make drastic changes, or else I would have probably exited my business and made quite a tidy sum, and everything would have been great. But then it's like, what do I do? What is my destiny? What's my purpose? I need something to do. And I actually love what I do. And I feel I've got a lot to give back to younger advisors, less experienced advisors. So it's now trying to adapt and give itself a bit of time to think of the next steps. So this year we'll probably go that way to grow again. But I think if we've kind of got everything set up a bit better for next year, then I feel that we'll go in a new cycle.
Go on, Claire, you go.
I was just going to say, like, kind of leaning into that, if there was a younger advisor maybe who had gone out on their own right now, and they were coming to you and say, look, I feel the way you've just described, what advice would you give them that they could action today to start looking at, what is causing them the problem, and how do they go about starting to kind of address that?
I think it's going back to, what is it you're trying to do? Because it felt like last year all I was doing was running around like a headless chicken. So I knew I spent a lot of work on brand and marketing and all those kind of things. So we'd done a lot of that, and I still have marketing support. And Jo, my marketing consultant, is brilliant for that, because she really kind of hinges you back every month. And she's very good at saying, but that's not what you want to do, and why are you doing that, and things. So it's sometimes trying to remember. I think my team were in a cycle of fear, and everyone needs to be reviewed, everyone needs to be in the diary, to the point where they'd forgotten about me.
Yeah.
So it was like I was running from here to there, not eating properly, not, running for my kids. I'm going through a divorce. It was just crazy. So I had to go, it's not just about the clients here, because if I fall down, this whole thing falls down. And that was an important thing for me, because I can't have that whole thing down. I've got 3 children and a lovely dog to support.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that the business is a business and it runs. And if I want to be off for a couple of weeks, that's okay as well. We've got that. So the diary management was something we focused on quite a bit over the year, and trying to streamline our review process, trying to use, and I always say this wrong, so hopefully I'll get it Calendly, and use the AI on Zoom for the meeting summaries. And if people want to see me, they can always come to me, whereas I was sort of bending over backwards for people.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's people that are vulnerable or older that you need the home visits, but we've spent time identifying who those people are, trying to get postcode home visits together. So just really trying to think about how to make my life that bit easier. I don't like to do meetings on a Monday and a Friday, and I was saying this to my team, but they kept putting on meetings on a Monday and a Friday. So I feel I don't have a lot of energy on a Monday. I think after being with twins for the whole weekend, it's quite exhausting.
Yes, I can
feel
imagine,
I need to regroup. And a Friday, you're just wanting to wind down a bit so that I can go back to being that person that's not.
So it's like setting boundaries. Is that part of this process with initially, say, looking at what's going on, setting some boundaries?
And keeping those boundaries for Emma as well, because the practice she was at before, very much there wasn't any boundaries. So it's like, sometimes I might need to speak to her at 7 o'clock at night because there's nothing else, but take the time back, or, she's got hospital appointments with her mum, that's okay, go and do them. But our aim is to try and get that business down to a 4-day working week, compressed week, and have a day where we can start building other tranches to the business. So that is the ultimate goal.
I have a question for that. Like, how do you find compressed hours for your mental health and for your energy levels?
I've always done it to a certain degree because I've had kids, and there's always been things that I've needed to take time off for. So I work really well on a Tuesday. I do a very long day on a Tuesday. I just find I have lots of energy on a Tuesday. So I think it will depend on the person, whether it will work for them. But when we're looking at hiring now, we're kind of saying straight off now, it's probably going to be a 4-day working week. How do you feel about that? What does the contract look like? I'm quite happy to do hybrid. I wouldn't probably want all remote because I want to keep that kind of team sort of spirit going, but flexibility I think is a real draw for people now. And if I'm flexible and I go to everything for my kids, or I go to the hairdressers, or I do all my beauty appointments in my working week, then they should be allowed to do the same.
And it's treating them, your colleagues, as adults as well, going, I trust you can manage your own time, and if you have that goodwill, then you get it back as well, as an employee. If you're going, well, of course, if you've got this to do, and then they'll go, great, and now that I've got that bit of leniency, I'm willing to, you need me to do a bit more, I've got the capacity, I can do those things too.
Emma's got some funny sayings about her which make me laugh, but one of the ones is she says you need people that are going to be in the trenches with you when you need to be in the trenches, because they're loyal and they want to work hard because they want to do a good job, regardless of whether it's their company or not. They value and they want to be there. So it's right.
And before I forget, when you said about looking at postcodes and things like that, I was talking to an advisor the other day who now uses ChatGPT, types in all the postcodes and says, please provide me route plans. That's the most efficient way to get to all of these
I did not know if AI
postcodes.
could do that.
Yeah,
There's an app that does it called Badger.
Oh, really?
But you can only get like 10
Oh,
in
well,
one go.
ChatGPT, you can go, I want to do it across this many days. I want it, like, you just chat to it, like, what do you need? And it goes, well, this is the route. I suggest you go here, 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 and here. And then this day you could go here, 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 and here. And there's just so many more uses for like things like ChatGPT that can go, instead of sitting down and working out, okay, what would that, it does it for you. So that was just a little,
that's a great little hack.
before I was going to forget about that. So anybody listening as well.
Tip. Where do you see, going back to the pill, the first question we asked you about the kind of taking a pill, 5 years, where do you see the business in the next 5 years? So if we were to fast forward 5 years' time, what would you love it to be in terms of the types of clients you're serving? I know you want to grow, but... Yeah,
we've done a lot of kind of work on what our ideal client is, the clients that we like to work with. I do have great success with vulnerable clients. I think it is just that softer approach does work better. I love what I call my mover and my shaker kind of ones. It's people that are a similar life stage and they're trying to set up their future, because everyone is really just planning for retirement as such, but it's what do they want that to look like? So I like working with people that I make them think about their life. To me, the money is always just about getting them to their life goals. I'm not precious over withdrawals or the fact that they need to spend it. And this is what I say to them, it's not about me saying you can't take your money out, it's about me giving you the confidence to spend that money. So the life stage I do particularly like is sort of that 40 to 60 plus, where you start to see them sort of wind down, spend, do the life experiences, they tell you about all the things they've done. It's quite satisfying. But yeah, I also think I work really well with creative people in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
So I just want to try and keep boosting them. But I think probably less clients that are more geared to those groups, and possibly we will nurture an advisor, possibly we'll nurture a paraplanner. We're kind of looking at different roles. Emma's very vocal, as am I, that there is more jobs than just an advisor. There's more jobs than just the planner. It doesn't have to be that's where you end up. You know, there's lots of ways that you can go. So it's trying to encourage that more.
Do you have a view on on the whole employed, self-employed kind of debate? Do you have a view as to is either better, or are they just good for different types of people that want different
I think
solutions?
they're good for different types of people, but when I did my dissertation, that was one, because I interviewed men and women to get that balanced approach. And one of the things that came through was a lot of people are scared of the self-employed role. I did have a self-employed advisor who was adamant he wanted to be self-employed, and it didn't work for him. So I think it's a big shift to go from employed to self-employed and retrain to be an advisor. So I think if there was more employed roles, you would get more of an uptake. But I also think if there was a set career path from that apprentice up type thing, if that's what you wanted for paraplanner and advisor, I think you would get more uptake. But I think again,
everyone wants security, don't they?
They do.
Well,
want security.
that's a good point. Like, I've always been quite honest about, in the early days when maybe Amelia and I would chat when I was setting up my business, I was like, I don't understand why you'd be employed. I'm self-employed. But I had no responsibilities. I had no child. Now, and I have done the self-employed route. I don't think I could do it now, because I'd be really worried about it. But so everyone's different in terms of their view, and also the life stage is important in that, I guess.
Well, I've had advisors get stuck before because they would desperately like to leave and go self-employed because they feel that would suit them and their values. But they've got children, they've got a young family, and they can't put that stress on their family because they feel that they are the provider. And it's not necessarily exclusive to men either. It happens to women as well. It's very stressful going, I've got bills to pay, I've got mouths to feed. And I could starve myself and my kids. I need to put clothes on their back. And so sometimes going self-employed is terrifying.
Yeah, and it probably stops people from doing it. I've never done any different. So I can't say I've known any different. And I now think I'm unemployable. I think for a lot of people, that is what they want at that stage of their life. So it's difficult, though, if you're a small one-person advisor, to try and find the budget to do that. You're kind of speculating. So it's something that I think there is a lot of. It would be great if there was things, grants, training grants, all that sort of stuff. They would be good to
you
have.
could use
The incentive for
hybrid,
people.
Self-employed.
something.
I've seen a few kind of contracts like that where they do get a base
Like a
level.
minimum.
That's what I did for my advisor, like a base level, and you would take some kind of like commission on top of that, or share of what he had brought in. But that wasn't enough for him. The security was really, he was unsettled by it.
Yeah.
And just are we nearly there on time, I think?
Yeah.
But just one final thing. So we had a whole episode on burnout, and you mentioned burnout earlier on. Do you have any like tips, tricks that you use to prevent burnout or to help you going forwards now?
I still think I'm just trying to get through it. I am currently, I've kind of committed back to doing things that I knew helped me. I need to start exercising again, which is good. My dog helps me a lot, walking my dog. I have started Reiki and reflexology. That's all about grounding yourself. So I've restarted things like that. I'm saying no to a lot of things now that I used to say yes to. I'm only doing things that I really want to do, that I think I enjoy. I have less friends now than I used to because I felt like I was just burning myself out trying to please everyone. So I only see the people that I really want to see. But I still think I'm getting there on that road. I'm trying to, as I say, put in the boundaries. I don't answer my mobile at weekends. I try not to work at weekends. I am trying to adjust my body clock and say when have I got more energy, and I'll try and do bits when I've got more energy and things. But it's a work in progress. I'm a naturally anxious, worrying sort of person. I will catastrophize. But I'm strangely very optimistic, so I always like to see what the worst that could happen, and then I come back and I look on the bright side kind of person. There's a lot of personal challenges just now. You've just got to get on with it and get up and be resilient.
Yeah, I mean, I love the label of an optimistic catastrophizer. That sounds amazing. Well, I think it's something we discussed a lot. So as Taylor said, we did a whole episode, just the three of us, talking about burnout and what do you do, and especially working from home, and that's hard, and people who have kids and things like that. So I think those are some really useful tips there. I think it's just being aware, isn't it? And holding yourself accountable, and sometimes realizing the way to prioritize other people is to prioritize yourself.
Talking about it as well, I think this year's taught me that actually people don't realize you're maybe struggling until you tell them.
Yeah.
I'm the one that everyone seems to come to with a problem, so it's been refreshing to know who's there when you want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether it's therapy or whether it's friendship, it doesn't. Or
Yeah.
my
All of the
parents.
above, yeah.
I've always felt like because they're getting older, I need to be strong for them, but they're still your parents and they still
Yeah.
need to know sometimes.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes it's nice for other people to feel useful as well. I think sometimes you go, I don't want to put it on them, but it's actually, when someone asks your advice, you're never like, oh no, I have to give my own opinion and advice on what you should do and listen. It's always, oh, that's a privileged position.
Yeah.
How nice I can hear about what's going on.
I think also the talking to other people in your profession, because they're all generally going through the same things, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like, oh, okay, because sometimes I think, I don't do social media apart from LinkedIn for the business, but people get too caught up in thinking that everyone else is doing great, and
Yeah.
they're not when you actually talk to
because you're
them.
putting out your best life. You're not going to say, oh, I had a really morning. Probably shouldn't have said that. on air.
I think that's allowed. I will take it. I
believe
think
it.
I've had words, yeah.
I'm in my pajamas. I haven't washed in 3 days. I've got 20 reports to get out. Like, no one says that because it's almost like shameful to feel like you're not on top of it and you're not superwoman.
Yeah. And I think I've reconnected with a friend who I find his advice really sensible and things. So it's those kind of things. Like when you talk to people that you know, like sometimes, God forbid, I love my sister to bits, but when I talk to her, sometimes she makes me feel worse. Sometimes looking at the things, as does my mum at times, it's trying to talk to the people and the friends and new friends. Like Emma's been greatly supportive. It's people that you can talk honestly with, and you don't have to have that facade that you've got, because sometimes you do have to have that upbeatness with a client.
Yeah.
There's also that person that, when you go to someone with a problem and they instantly try to tell you what you should be doing.
The solution, the solution finder. Yeah.
Sometimes
listening.
you just need someone to listen.
Give you a hug.
I mean, somebody recently told me, like, the best thing you can do when someone comes to you and tries to vent is not to find a solution, is to ask for permission first and go, would you like a solution? Would you like my insight? Or do you just want to get it off your chest? And that is the fix for not upsetting your friends or colleagues who've come to you. They just need to vent, is actually just listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a friend that had a really bad car accident about 18 months ago, so I was trying not to say it to her because I know she's going through a really tough time herself, but I think that makes her feel worse. So you realise it's better just to say, because she wants to hear.
Yeah.
And also it probably makes her feel a bit better because she's having a bad time as well.
Yeah.
So I think it is, I was keeping probably a little bit too much in.
Yeah.
We are running out of time.
We sit and chat all day.
Genuinely, I think I
I've
forgot
got
I was
loads
on the
more.
podcast at one point and just having a nice chat. Before we let you go and get on with the rest of the busyness of your life, can you set us a question for our next podcast guest? Have you got anything? Doesn't have to be anything to do with financial planning at all. It can be silly. It can be. Have you got?
One thing I always wonder is, if you were to live anywhere in the world, where would it be? Because that interests me.
Do you have an answer for it or not really?
I don't know. I can never pick. I'm really bad. See, when anyone asks me what's my favourite thing, or I'm like, well, there's so many different things at different points in your life. So I came down to, I would like to live in a city that has a beach, so that you've got the kind of culture, and but you've got the beach. I love the water, but I can't decide where that is. So I can't even answer my own question.
Yeah, perfect. Great question. Where I don't know where I would live. Somewhere warm. I think that's
We said warm with a beach, but not too hot.
not too hot, not sweaty.
Not sweaty or clammy.
No,
Well,
well, we'll
clammy,
see
what
what our
word?
next guest. Our next guest will have. Maybe they'll be like the Arctic.
Oh,
Need to have good hair.
For the Arctic.
No, if you're in the heat.
Oh yeah. I think you wear a hat in the Arctic. Anyway, who knows? Well, you can stay tuned and see what will happen in that next podcast. But that's it for this episode. Thank you so much, Nicola, for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation. And genuinely forgot I was on a podcast a couple of times there, just listening to you chat. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can listen to all our previous episodes on Spotify, Apple. You can watch it on YouTube, and you can see it on our website, www.nextgenplanners.co.uk, where there's loads more information about us and our wonderful community. But that's all we've got time for today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the NextGen Planners podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find all of our previous episodes on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and on our website. Also, there is where you can find even more information about our brilliant community. And finally, if you can, do leave us a review. It really does help to grow the podcast.